Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is the Unstoppable Podcast Show, and I am Jennifer Hardy, and I am joined today with Marci Nault. How are you doing, Marci?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am really well, thank you so much. So let's dive straight in. Talk to me a little bit about your business. It's bucketlistlife.com, yeah?
Yes, with a dash between bucket and list. So I never planned on doing this business. Life kind of happens in unusual ways sometimes. I'm actually an author and I write novels. And when I was out on book tour, my publisher had made this list of dreams that I had been going after for quite a few years, very public. And so as I'm sitting in doing speaking events or in book groups, they were like, I love the book. It was fantastic, but I want to talk about this. What did you do? What was it like to go here? What was it like to be able to do all these things on your list? And when I turned around and I asked people, well, what's on your list? What do you want to do? What are your dreams? It was such a hard conversation for them. And oftentimes they would come up to me after when they were away from their closest friends, and they would whisper behind their hands, and they would try to tell me like this big dream that they were just so afraid to go after. I'm like, why are we whispering? And as I studied all of this, as I worked with people, as I spoke with people, I realized that we do not set up our lives to go after our deepest desires, to go out and live our passions. And it's not because of money, though people will use that as an excuse. And it's not because of time, because we can always change things around. It's more because we don't feel supported and we're afraid of failure. And we feel like everything's supposed to be perfection and goal-oriented. And I went out and it's like, how can I change this perception and make people realize that we have this one life that is an exploration of the world, that we have this huge playground and these amazing bodies in which to explore it and experience so much. And I decided to start a business all about that.
I absolutely love it. And I can't believe up until now I've never came across your website, because I am all for that. I'm all for the fact that you have this incredible life. You must live it to the absolute max. And that can mean lots of different things for different people, can't it? Because I know for me, travel is really important. But for a lot of people, that might not be their dream or on their wish list. So I would just love to know, what kind of things do people talk to you about that they feel as if they have to keep secret when it comes to their wildest dreams?
So for one woman, one of the most touching stories, she had been a mom and a wife, and a corporate wife at that. And then she got to be about 48 and went through a divorce, and it was all very shocking for her. And she had always wanted to go back and get her master's and be in a career of being a lawyer. And so master's to law degree, and everybody was like, well, are you crazy? Do you realize how old you're going to be when you get out of school and no one's going to want to hire you? And so I think 6 or 7 years had gone past for her. And she still, it was like this deep desire that woke her up all the time, but she was just told that it was impossible. And she's like, well, now it's really impossible. I'm like, well, what if you live to 110? I was like, why is this impossible? What does it matter? I'm like, break up with the concept of age and do whatever you want. Forget decades, forget this idea. And for other people, it's artistic. They were artists as children, and when they were allowed to be free, but it's like, oh, now you've got to be, that can be a hobby. That can be something you do on the side, but that's not what's important about life. And I'm like, this is your soul expressing itself. How can that not be one of the most top important things? And I always say that our dreams are also the way, my list of dreams, my bucket list, wasn't just about going off and exploring the world. It was, and becoming an author and all the things I wanted to do. It was the roadmap to how I wanted to live my life, how I wanted to interact with people, who I wanted to become. So there were things like, being able to communicate without need or expectation, being able to have great friends who wanted to get the most out of life instead of dealing with drama in life. So it's really, when I talk about a bucket list life, I talk about all the little moments that align with how we want to live so that we are coming from a place of joy and fascination and excitement.
I love it. And you touched upon something there about being a child and how it's completely accepted. You know, when you want to express yourself, or for example, for me, it was theatre when I was young. I loved doing theatre. And yeah, like as I got older, especially my grandmother, she wanted me to get a normal, proper job. Now, I never did, but it was always in the back of my head, you know, this is not a real job. Like I'm playing this. So I want to explore that a little bit. Do you believe that a lot of the things that we're told as children has that completely detrimental effect on what we end up doing with our lives as we grow up? You know, these rules and regulations and the way that we're made to believe that it should be, you know, for us it's primary, secondary, college, university, straight into a normal, proper job. Do you believe that a lot of that comes from just our childhood then?
Oh, absolutely. And a society thing. And, you know, when people ask me about my life, they're always just like, oh, it must be nice. I'm like, it is, you should do it. You know, but when you think about when you meet a small child, or if you have small children and they meet an adult and what's the first thing you ask that kid? Well, how old are you? Well, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we think it's so cute. It's like, oh, I want to be a firefighter. I want to be an astronaut. I want to be this. But we start putting children into categories from the moment they're born. What weight class are they in? They're at the 5th percentile of growing. We now track everything about their lives on phones and apps, and we're constantly looking at, are they matching up to other children? And then we get into school and it's like, well, what do you want to be? And how do you want to behave? And how do you want to, you know, what are your grades? And we start categorizing and we start judging very, very early. And so this question, it's constantly bombarding children of, what do you want to be when you grow up? Who do you want to marry? How do you want to love? And we set up our lives on this to the point that it's almost brainwashing. And the fact of the matter is, college is not, you know, we talk about it a little bit differently here in the States. In the States, young people are going into colleges, no idea what they want to do, but they're supposed to know at 18 years old. And the most interesting people that I know change their careers 10, 12 times. It's like, oh, I want to do this now, or I want to go over here now. But that's not allowed. And so we've really set up our society here of corporations where it's like, if you don't have those worker bees, our economy would fail. So it's like, go to school, be classed, you know, put into these categories. Now what college you get into is the most important thing. And then you get all this debt and there's no way to go off and explore on your own. So now you have to work for one of these corporations. And nobody wants to, like, people are starting to think, maybe this isn't what we should be doing, but it's so ingrained. And I really think if we started to ask people, so how do you want to live? Just that one switch from how old are you and what do you want to be to how do you want to live your life? And when I ask adults that, they look at me like nobody has asked me that. And then when I speak to young women about it, they're like, it's almost this terrifying question because it's so broad and so big. And it's like, but if you can ask that question, now you can start to live a totally different life, one from your deepest desires.
Now, there'll be a lot of people out there thinking, well, listen, there's 101 things I do want to do, but I don't have the money. It always comes up. But I know that you managed to accomplish basically 101 dreams coming true and keeping within a budget at the same time. Absolutely. So how did you kind of go around it? How did you go about it?
You know, it's always thinking outside the box. It's always thinking, how can I make this work? So one of the examples that I give, first of all, I didn't go into debt. I made sure that what I was doing was on a budget that I could handle. But I own a timeshare. I bought it very, very inexpensively. So I can go and I can stay in 5-star resorts that cost $2,000 a night for the apartment. I just did this a couple weeks ago, and it's 2 bedrooms. I'll split it with a friend, you know, and then I'll Airbnb my home. And by the time I'm done with that vacation, most of the time I've made money instead of spending money on it. And it's not like I'm, having my friends pay for my vacation. They're getting this beautiful resort for, $500 for the whole week. And so I'm sharing that with other people. I wanted to go to South America for 2 months, and I looked at my life and it's like, okay, I own a place. I rented it out. While I was traveling, I used Airbnb, so I was able to meet people in the area. And, I just kept to things. Like there was a trip that I wanted to do. It was $7,000 for 5 days in Fruto Chile. And I'm like, well, I don't need to be coddled and carried, everywhere and have all this luxury. So I ended up calling people, and there was a language barrier, and emailing people, and just ended up doing a homestay in this little town. It was an amazing experience, and went in and I kayaked and I rafted. And instead of $7,000 for 5 days, I stayed for 2 weeks, did everything I would have done on the regular trip, except probably had a lot more fun. And that only cost me $400 for that time I was in there. So when you start looking for ways to do everything that you desire, instead of saying, okay, I don't know how the finances will work, it's like, now what can I do and how can I do it? And, I teach bucket list life challenges where I make people go out and actually experience the things that they want to do. And we go very deep into everything that I'm talking about. But one of the things I make them do is to make back the money, double what they paid for the course in 48 hours to a week, so that their mindset is not, well, I just have this paycheck and I'm living paycheck to paycheck, but how can I do this? I want this. So what can I do creatively to make it happen?
Amazing. I absolutely love it. I love it. And I think that's probably what holds a lot of people back, is the fear of, well, I can't afford it, so there's not even any way or any reason why I should even look into it. When actually, like you say, thinking outside the box. And also, if anyone that maybe has been to somewhere that you want to visit or done something that you want to do, I always think it's always a fab idea to actually, reach out to them and say, this is what I'm wanting to do. I'm wanting to, well, let's say, I don't know, it's surfing somewhere. How did you do it? And I want to try and make it inexpensive. And I've done that a few times now. My friends have given me some fantastic recommendations and stuff. And maybe they've met friends when they've been there and they're like, you should reach out to this person. And I've done this within my business as well, actually. So, for example, when I was looking at putting the book together, I reached out to a few people that I knew had already done books, and got some fantastic words of wisdom from people as well. So yeah, thinking outside the box and taking a little bit of action goes a long way, doesn't it?
It really does. And the other thing is speaking your dreams. So, I put my blog up when I was originally going after my dreams, and it was really just for me. And then all of a sudden I started getting, emails from all over the world from people finding it. And there was, because I put it up there, a friend had shown her daughter, and one of my dreams was to go to Vancouver and another one was to go hang gliding. And she's like, well, I live in Vancouver in a beautiful home. So if you come up here, I've always wanted to go hang gliding, but I'm just too terrified. We'll go hang gliding together. And so it ended up, I stayed with her. The hang gliding company had seen my blog and they're like, will you share the experience with people? So they gave me the hang gliding for free. And I went and I did it. And that really happened it happens all the time when people are just like, wow, I have that dream too. Maybe we could go and do it together. But we're so secretive. It's almost like this shameful thing that I don't want to tell anybody. And it doesn't come down to finances. People say that, but what it comes down to is this deep shame of wanting too much, being selfish for wanting that much. And who am I to want this much? And I had that when I looked at my list. The impossibility of it, and the fear of being ostracized by society and those we love. That if we fail, they'll be like, see, I told you it couldn't work. And first of all, I say to people, find more supportive friends. If that's the world you're living in, it's time to move forward. And second of all, speak your dreams, because we have to stop thinking of our desires as shameful and that, you know, oh my God, we want too much. We have one life in a magnificent world. We're supposed to want so much. And when you start to go after your dreams, the amazing thing that happens is that they come about in bigger, more exciting, and more magnificent ways than you could ever possibly imagine, because you start at a limiting point and then it's like this big bang of an explosion of look at how magnificent life really is.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely agree. So everyone that's out there, please begin to share your dreams with everyone. And if it's not with friends or family, then find a community that love what you're doing and what you're all about and share it with them. I'm always in my group saying to people, what is it that you want to do? What do you want to be? How much money do you want to earn? I think that's something as well people are terrified to speak about.
Yes.
It shouldn't be something that's scary. You think about the amount of change that you can generate in the world when you do have that kind of abundance in finance. It's pretty incredible. So it's been an absolute pleasure to speak to you. Thank you so much for coming on today. And I love what you do. It is fantastic, Marci. So thank you.
Thank you. I love what you do. So I love finding our tribe of people saying, come on, life's too important and too short to waste any time not going after your dreams.
1,000,000%. So where can we find you, Marci, on the online space?
I mostly hang out on Facebook, and you can find me at Marci Nault Bucket List Life. And I actually have a group that I just started just called Bucket List Life. And it's a closed group, so it's a very safe place to share your dreams with everybody and to get that support. You can find me at 101dreamscometrue.com and bucketlistlife.com.
Fantastic. And what is your book called as well?
My book is The Lake House, and it's with Simon & Schuster. You can find it on Amazon or through bucketlistlife.com. And yeah, it's a fun book, and hopefully my second one is coming out soon. It's been a bear of a book, but it's been an incredible journey.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to connecting more in the future as well, and wishing you lots of success with everything that you do, Marci.
You as well. Thank you.
Thank you. So for everyone that's out there listening today, please make sure that you reach out to Marci and get to know a little bit more about what you do. And of course, if you want to join our group, jump in there, and I'm sure she'll be really happy to learn all about you and all about your dreams. And yeah, we should be talking about it much, much more. So if you want to find out more about Marci, just scroll down a little bit and you will find all of the links to her pages and her website, of course, too. And if you want to find out a bit more about me and Unstoppable, then we just underneath Marci's details, that's where you can find us. So thank you so much again for everyone that's out there listening. I appreciate you so much, and I will speak to you all again real soon. Bye.